What's up, everybody? How are you? How are you doing? Doing okay? Are you having a good day? Oh, my fucking light went out, dude. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Hit the bell to get notified of all the content I'm pushing out. If you have the bell hit, the next step you should execute is to get the YouTube app, because then it will notify you in real time that a video has been pumped out or that I'm live. A couple products support this broadcast. I'll explain them later, but super quickly. The Cortex stack, that's our nootropic stack, mental energy, verbal fluency, motivation. Secondarily, the Torque nootropic stack, most purchased stack on the web because people love 6 to 8 hours of fire blood. You can buy them both at livecortex.com or down in the description below. And let's get right into the video. So, friends, Oxiracetam, can you take it every day? Is it safe to take every day? I mean, that's a prominent discussion in the nootropics community. Let me just get right to the major point. And the major point is... I'm preparing myself to give you the major point. The major point is, yes, Oxiracetam is safe to take every day. This is my anecdotal experience with clients and myself, and importantly, because this is really where you should validate things of this nature, there's literature behind it. There's literature of dementia patients literally taking 1,600 milligrams of Oxiracetam every day for a year with no negative effects on their biomarkers or no reported side effects. So I want to get to that study in just a second, but the discussion on the daily use of nootropics is a prominent one, and that's typically because people come across a stack that works well for them. Call it Oxiracetam, teacrine, theobromine, citicoline, right, in particular doses. It's bitchin', it makes them function really well. They're like, wow, I don't want to go back to how I was functioning. I want to take this every day, right? But then I try to tell them, look, even though it's safe to take every day, you're probably going to run into diminishing returns, almost definitely, right? After a week, 2 weeks or whatever, it's not going to hit the same way that it did in those first couple days, and you're going to wonder why. And you're going to say, did I get bad Oxiracetam and all this other, stuff that people basically make up. And ultimately, to avoid the truth in the matter, which is that you should be cycling it so that you don't develop a tolerance for it. I mean, that will happen with Oxiracetam. Whether there's studies with dementia patients and it improving cognitive function over time and importantly not giving them side effects, that standout effect that they get initially is usually not there, ongoingly. And when I try to tell people that you should develop a set of 15 minimally to 30 stacks over the course of a month that you take and switch between, or get an established prescription compound like modafinil that's sustainable to take daily, or an established nootropic stack that actually is designed to take daily like Torque, because you can take Torque daily, that's what we build it for. When I try to tell people, aside from that, if you want to experiment with PRL-853, other racetams, tyrosine alcohol, all the compounds we usually talk about, you should be cycling. People don't want to hear it. It's like they put cotton in their ears, bro. This is what people do. Nah, don't want to hear it. Now, look, I want to point you to a study that validates this so we can just kind of close the book on whether or not it's safe to take every day. And that study is called Clinical Studies with Oxiracetam in Patients with Dementia of Alzheimer Type and Multi-Infarct Dementia of Mild to Moderate Degree, in which they basically gave 800 milligrams of Oxiracetam to these patients twice daily for a total of 1,600 milligrams a day to dementia patients. And they concluded no severe adverse events were observed during the whole study, nor changes in routine laboratory examinations. So that's really important. Their biomarkers do not change or skew negative. In conclusion, in the present population of patients with mild to moderate degree dementia, the safety of 1,600 milligrams a day of Oxiracetam up to a year of treatment was confirmed. Okay, so now we have official data that supports the idea that you can take Oxiracetam. If you don't have dementia, you're probably looking to extrapolate that at about half of the dose, 800 milligrams a day. And you probably would get continuing brain performance from it, but it would not be that substantial, noticeable hit that you got the first or second time that you took a stack with Oxiracetam and that dose in it. Keep that in mind. But if you wanted to do it, if you wanted to forget all the advice that I've given you about the use of other nootropics and the cycling and sort of an effective rotation schedule, or again, developing a strategy of a prescription compound that's sustainable like modafinil, or taking a stack that's sustainable like Torque, then sure, if you decide that you want to, for whatever reason, take oxiracetam, add a gram, call it a day, it's not going to hurt you negatively over the long term, and probably it's going to help do a few other really important things. I want to point you to another study that is titled Oxiracetam Offers Neuroprotection by Reducing Amyloid Beta Induced Microglial Activation and Inflammation in Alzheimer's Disease. Now, this is Alzheimer's disease, so you have to, couch this accordingly. But the conclusion is that oxiracetam suppressed the activation of BV2 cells, decreased the production of AB-induced, which is amyloid beta. It's a major marker for Alzheimer's, inflammatory molecules, and NO in BV2 cells, and protected H222 cells against indirect toxicity mediated by amyloid beta treated BV2 cell conditioned medium. Thus, oxiracetam may exert a protective role in Alzheimer's disease through attenuating the damage caused by inflammation and oxidative stress. So how does that extrapolate to regular folks? Well, it's going to reduce oxidative stress in your brain. It will protect neurons from inflammation. And, as it relates to some of the other neurotransmitter mechanisms, it'll make you fire acetylcholine more pronounced in a more efficient way, and also activate some glutamate receptors, particularly the AMPA receptor, which fosters memory, LTP, and gives you some energy. So actually, if you wanted to take oxiracetam for the purpose of neuroprotection daily, this is where this comes into play, where it actually makes sense. Because again, I tried to make the point to you earlier that if you were taking oxiracetam and a few other compounds in a stack that you found noticeably stimulated you and made you feel and function really awesomely, you're probably going to run into diminishing returns, or again, the efficacy is going to wane on that oxiracetam-centered stack. But if you're not looking to take oxiracetam consistently for a stimulated brain effect, then you are just fine taking oxiracetam, and it's probably going to help you over the long term by reducing amyloid beta activation, microglial activation, and reducing inflammation in your brain. Anecdotally, oxiracetam has rarely given me side effects. If I think about it, it's usually I dosed the choline source wrong, or the choline type wasn't right for me. Usually citicholine kind of functions better in my brain for a variety of reasons. If I've dosed oxiracetam too high for my particular brain, I've gotten side effects. Overstimulation would be the most prominent of them. But other than that, if I'm dosing it correctly, it really doesn't give me side effects. And it's been probably the most useful in remedying brain fog in a number of situations, but prominently lack of sleep. So when I don't sleep well for whatever reason, and I have that noticeable brain fog or sludge, I wouldn't call it fog, I would just call it sludge. Like my brain doesn't feel like it wants to fire and function accordingly like it does normally. I certainly wouldn't want to go into QuickBooks and deal with the categorization of transactions or chart of accounts or any of that financial stuff. If my brain's like that, taking oxiracetam tends to remedy it. Then I can go into the work or go into any kind of cognitive processing endeavor and function pretty well. I've used oxiracetam as a pre-workout. It actually works really well for that. If you take a dose for you that works, that's going to be different for different people, but call it 500 milligrams. With a small dose choline source, I'd be taking 30, 40 milligrams in the morning if you're going to work out. Pre-workout, that should enhance your focus in the workout, which actually does help. Nootropics are very effective for pre-workouts in a different way than you can, most people sort of imagine. It's not just about the energy, right? It's about that improvement in brain function and focus, so that when you're trying to hit that extra rep or even do an entire extra set, or like you have a different goal to work a different muscle group or whatever. Maybe you need the courage to go over to the area where all the big weights are and all the fucking big weightlifters are there, like to lift weights. Like, having a better focused brain is going to help you to do all those things. So oxiracetam is very useful in that capacity. Obviously, oxiracetam is useful in mental processing tasks that require a good degree of concentration and working with digits, numbers, just a cerebral task that's out of the ordinary from what you normally do. And your brain is kind of usually not up to the task. Oxiracetam provides a functional state for you to be able to do those types of things easier. So it's a radically awesome compound, my friends. And yes, you can take it every day if you need to, and it'll be neuroprotective. It'll probably help you function better over time. But keep in mind, it's just not going to hit the same way as it did in those first couple days. So don't be disappointed if you start taking it and it's radical right away and you're like, shit, this is awesome. And then in week 2 or week 3 or even day 4 of that same stack, it doesn't hit the same way. That's usually because, again, I mean, it just sort of settles in. You may get subtle cognitive benefits thereafter, but it's not going to provide that pronounced initial stimulation. There's very few compounds that are sustainably able to do that. That's why I'm always pushing Torque, because that's one of the compounds or stacks that can do that. Obviously, I would suggest if you have a prescription for modafinil, fussing around with it, because it has the ability to do that, and few other compounds have the ability to do that. But ultimately, again, if you're cycling between 15 and 30 stacks, between 15 and 30 stacks over the course of a 30-day period or a 45-day period or something, you just have 30 stacks that you kind of ongoingly rotate between, well, then, you're not going to run into tolerance, and you can keep that pronounced stimulatory effect where you feel like a beast and you get a ton done. You can keep that going pretty sustainably over time. That's why cycling is important out of these contexts of finding a good, sustainable daily stack. Okay. But the major point is, if you wanted to, for neuroprotection, for, potential prevention or at least alleviation of the onset of Alzheimer's and dementia, take Oxiracetam daily. It's not going to hurt you. Okay. It's safe to do. There are plenty of studies other than this that conclude that, and you're not going to grow like a fucking third arm or something. Hope that makes sense. Thank you so much for watching. I came across this study. Somebody pinged me on this 1,600 milligram a day study. And I have seen it a year or so ago and decided not to make a video about it or whatever. And so today was the day to actually talk about this study. So the person that emailed me this study, thank you so much. It ended up being a YouTube video. All right, folks, as I said in the beginning, a couple products support this broadcast. I mean, look, this is what keeps us alive. But the good thing is we actually have really, really awesome products that people buy every day and really love. First of them is the Cortex Nootropics Stack. Mental energy, verbal fluency, motivation, the will to work, memory, a lot of things packed in a dopamine-centered stack. You can get Cortex at livecortex.com or down in the description below. You can always save some money if you use the coupon code 15NOW. 15NOW will save you 15% on the Cortex Nootropics Stack. Secondarily, the most purchased nootropic stack on the internet because people just love the way that it makes them feel. Torque, okay? It is a very powerful, clean stimulant. I mean, imagine being able to take 2 capsules at will sustainably, a compound you can take every day, and it just turns your brain on in a noticeable way where you want to do work, where you're excited about life, where you have a good mood, but importantly, where your brain is functioning very, very well. It's like you're alive. A lot of people are walking around this life sleeping, half sleeping, and their brains are shut off. They're not functioning well, or depressed or anxious or just not happy or just not functioning well. Okay. Torque aims to solve that problem for a lot of people. Get it at livecortex.com. Down in the description below are the links right to Live Cortex where you can buy our nootropic products. Lastly, if you need me to formulate your regimen, help you raise testosterone, fix your energy problem, resolve some sort of neurochemistry issue, hire me. That is what I do. We now have a new package where you can get on a call with me. You can tell me your problems or your goals around performance or whatever. I will draw up a document. I'll take some time to think about it because I'll be taking notes. It's essentially a fact finding, and then I'll draw up a document with tailored protocols for you to go execute to solve your issue or reach your goals related to performance. That is called the Biohacking Engineering Package, and you can find that at livecortex.com on the consulting tab on the menu. In addition to that, we've got one-on-one programs for serious individuals that have the budget that want me to design your entire regimen, resolve problems, raise your test, get your brain functioning awesome. You can find those packages on the consulting page and the consulting tab on the menu at livecortex.com. I've got slots open for both the 3-month and the 6-month programs, and the biohacking engineering package, there's kind of always slots open for that because we just do a 30-minute fact-finding call, and then I draft up the document and get you the document on protocols to resolve your issues. Thank you so much for being with me. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you guys, and I will talk to you next time.